The contract situation at Liverpool is, I would describe as not fantastic. Mainly because it's not fantastic, but I'd also say that the narrative and the way that people are speaking about it is a little behind the curve. Maybe a little behind the curve of how Liverpool are going to approach the rest of their transfer, the rest of reshaping the squad, but also a little behind the curve in the sense that if someone is going to leave and it's going to be one of those big three guys, maybe we as a fan base need to start coming to terms with it. Now, I'm not saying I back that. Of course, I'd hate to see Virgil van Dijk, Mo Salah, or Trent Alexander-Arnold leave the team. But a state of acceptance in a fan base, not saying that you need to go, oh yeah, I love it that he's leaving, but that you do need to accept that the team is moving on, is probably a really healthy way to be supporters. First of all, it's going to make it a lot easier to bite the bullet when you do find out the news that A, one of those players is leaving, or B, one of those players is actually going to stay, and you've just got a really good upside. It doesn't excuse that this contract situation has gotten to this point. And the fact is, when you get into the final year of your contract, you're not going to sign it before January anyway, because you're going to wait for your offers in January. You're going to wait for Liverpool to then make counter offers. You're probably going to get bigger offers from elsewhere, but you're probably also going to get Liverpool pulling on the heartstrings, family members saying, you love this place, you've always lived in this place, we've lived in this place for a very long time, I want some consistency in my life. But you're also going to be saying, you know what? I'm not negotiating here with Liverpool. I'm negotiating with FSG. I'm negotiating with a company. I'm not negotiating with the football club that everyone from the outside perceives. And so I think there will be a lot of abuse online for whoever it is that decides to leave. I can't imagine why Salah will get abuse. I can't imagine why Virgil will get abuse. I can conceive of the idea that Trent will get abused online. Mainly because Real Madrid feel like the kind of team who think they're above Liverpool, who, in every aspect, not just one aspect, and have had quite a few over on Liverpool. That frustrates Liverpool in the first place. It frustrates us as a fan base. No one likes, obviously there is the Scouse and English thing, there's the Scouse mentality in the first place. No one likes to think that a place that's got the name Royal before it is able to get one over on Liverpool. But fair enough, right? Secondly, it's that it slipped through their fingers. It's that Liverpool like to feel that there is a special place in everyone's heart for that club. And you know what? A lot of people kiss the ring, pay the tribute, they say all the right things. Whether they actually mean it or not, I think is a whole different thing. And I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is now caught in this weird middle ground, right? When Steven Gerrard left, that was very, very different for Liverpool. He was going potentially to a direct Premier League rival in Chelsea and Jose Mourinho to play in what would have been an all-time Premier League team. That is very similar to the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation. He would be going to play in an all-time Real Madrid 11. Kylian Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, Vinicius. Obviously, there's a back line that's being reshaped there. There's a midfield which is just coming together. There's already talk in Marca about him not only being seen as a right back at Real Madrid, but also being seen as a midfielder. And the idea that Ancelotti, this adaptable coach, this adaptable system, which seems to allow different players to just flourish and blossom into these new kinds of players, but not only that, win things in those kind of positions, it feels inevitable for Real Madrid. Those guys have a monopoly in that league. They have not only political monopoly, but also a footballing monopoly. They can spend a huge amount of cash. They've been set up as an institution for a very long time, and I don't think that's something I necessarily feel jealous of as a fan. It's not the story that I would want to be part of, put it that way. But it gives them a great global appeal, and it certainly gives footballers this idea that, hey, I'm going to get treated like an NFL player. I'm going to get treated like an NBA player. I'm going to be the franchise face. I'm going to be one of those guys who's going to be marketed globally. I think the Adidas link might be a tenuous one. I don't think brands really get to decide where players go. They're obviously going to give advice and say, it'd be great if you could be in this place. We want to be able to market like this. But with Jude Bellingham over there already, I don't know if Adidas are trying to push another player there. Maybe there's a brand hookup they want to do. Maybe there's something there, but that's not going to be like a 3 to 5 year thing. Having said that, you always want to double down on where it is that you're at. You always want to, have more options at any club. And if one player takes a dip in form, you want someone else to be able to be pushed in that English language speaking market. And Trent is certainly one of those guys. He's highly marketable. He's also someone who's very close with his family in the first place. He has a bubble of people around him who manage him who are closely related to him, right? And he also still is very down to earth, still goes and gets tea with people in Liverpool on a regular basis, loves those aspects of playing for Liverpool. But these bubbles, I think their bubbles are great for athletes. I think they work really well for a lot of those people. they don't always work so well in the industry, and they also can annoy a couple of people in the industry as well, right? I mean, Harry Kane's brother is notorious for not having pleased a lot of people, but at the same time, Harry Kane is now on a lifetime Skechers contract. He's playing for Bayern Munich. No matter whether you want to talk about curses or those kind of things, that's not really relevant when you think of the generational wealth that these guys are putting together. And Trent probably wants to do a similar thing. He's getting his brother and friends involved in business deals. He's getting EA to include people he likes in those commercials that he's in the first place. That's going to include a hefty fee for that person in the first place. He's allowing his brother, obviously, agents take a percentage of people's wages in the first place. Not only is it a great tax break for a family, but it's also a really great way of generating generational wealth, putting it into trust, putting it in different areas. Trent is not an idiot. Trent is, in fact, probably one of the smartest players I've ever met. Not only is he emotionally intelligent, but he's also someone who seems to be able to read other people around him. Not every player comes with that, but at the same time, I'd say it's quite unique to Liverpool that they profile players who are then emotionally intelligent and able to be adaptable. He was brought up in an environment which encourages that under Jurgen Klopp, to be in touch with yourself, but also to be in touch with yourself for the best for the team, right? So he's evolved in an environment which encourages him to be the best of himself, doesn't necessarily ask him to diminish himself in any capacity. I think that's really positive as well. He's going to be going to a very different place though. And I think that will be exotic for a player like him. I don't necessarily think it would deter him from doing that. And I also think that looking at his role at Liverpool right now, as incredible it is as a generational talent, I wonder if he's wondering how far he can take this role at Liverpool, how important he will be to that team. Of course, he said he wanted assurances, or it's rumours that he said he wanted assurances at Liverpool, that they were going to make big signings, they were going to lock players down to long-term contracts. I think it's a big part of why the Kwanzaa deal is getting done, but also the Konate deal is very much in the works. These deals are going to get done before other people like Salah, Van Dijk and possibly Trent get signed in the long term, mainly because if you do any of those guys, the other guys are going to see the huge deals you offer them and want a bigger proportion of that. If you do the smaller, in inverted commas, I think Konate is a massive star in the first place, but if you do the smaller deals, you're going to get those done, get those guys in a wage structure. You're going to be able to go back to those players and goes, here's our wage structure here, here's what we feel you're worth within that wage structure, and here's what we're going to do moving forward. And that's a big part of it here. I'm reading at the moment, I just want to get the name of the book right, the Ian Graham book, How to Win the Premier League, in which he talks about the early years of analytics at Liverpool, Liverpool's quantification of value at the club, whether it's qualitative or quantitative inputs. Obviously there is goals, obviously there are touches, obviously there are pass maps, obviously there are all these different things that get fed into the analytics machine post-game. How valuable are your passes? What kind of value does your pass have? Did it take you 1, 2, 3 steps closer to scoring a goal? Because I don't know if this is still the same. He's obviously not at the club anymore. He left last season, but you'd imagine that with Michael Edwards, who worked over him at one point with Richie Hughes, someone who's a very attack-minded director of football in the first place, and also then on a slot, someone who likes control but also attack-minded football, has a dynamic pressing system. You'd imagine that they're also thinking in similar ways. If we can control the attacking zone on the field, we will have to do a lot less defending. If we can control the ball, we will have to do a lot less of the stuff that is more risky out there on the field. And the risk is worth the reward. Trent Alexander-Arnold was brought up under Klopp as a high-risk, high-reward player. There was that stat ages ago that he took a huge amount of passes and not many of them, or a lower than preferable majority of them, didn't go to another player in the Liverpool team. He was taking very high-risk passes, in other words. Not only was he talented enough to do that, but he was trusted enough to do that as well by the rest of the players in the team. When I spoke to him for the Jordan Henderson documentary that I shot a couple of years ago, there was this undertone of, well, if the captain trusts me, if these other people endorse me, then I have the confidence to go out there and do those things. That's a very nurturing environment that he's currently in. It's certainly a very healthy environment for him as a footballer. I'd imagine that more recently the appeal of that may have gone down a little bit as maybe he has withdrawn a little bit from the side. You can't really tell. He's still obviously vice captain. He's still very much part of the leadership bubble at Liverpool, which is, him, Van Dijk, now Alexis McAllister, possibly Alisson, possibly Robbo as well. Quite a few different leaders within there, making sure that the team remains on track. You want a local lad in the side. You want someone who's understands what the value is, not only to the club, but also to the city, to the people who actually live in the city, to people who've been going to games for generations. It's not that someone from Argentina like McAllister can't understand it, or Van Dijk from the Netherlands, but those people will not have the same intrinsic understanding of seeing it growing up and those kind of things that someone like Trent will. And I think that's a valid point to make here. It also goes the other way, that obviously he's not a Madridista from birth, but at the same time, sadly, for a lot of Liverpool fans, he strikes you as that kind of player. The frustration, I guess, for Liverpool is, yes, we will continue, or we'll do our best to continue with Mo Salah. Whether Mo signs or not, I think there are some very clear talents that could replace or put emphasis on another part of the field, and we'll see where Liverpool go with that. There's a feeling that if Liverpool were to move Mo Salah on, if Mo Salah was to want to move on, they could also sustain that blow. I think we are overlooking the generational numbers this guy puts up, but I think there is a feeling that analytically we could make up those numbers somewhere else or shift the emphasis under Arne Slot to another part of the field, especially considering that after the last international break, a lot of people feels like Mo numbers took a dip in the first place, and so we've had to put emphasis somewhere else in the team anyway. I think that is overlooking what his role is, what his gravity is within the team, but still, that's a very top line. Virgil van Dijk. He is a generational talent. I think he's the best centre-back the Premier League's ever seen. I think he's one of our best captains ever. I love his calmness. I love the way he rationalises things. I love the way he speaks. I love the control that he has of his public persona and the PR around Liverpool. I love that when he has received criticism in the past, he's either dealt with it in a very humble and a way where he uses a lot of humility. It's very difficult, I imagine, to be humble as a high-end footballer. But also, we've seen him rebuild himself from probably some of the most humbling injuries of anyone in their career. You know, he's broken quite a few different areas of his body, not least, like the hyperextension of his leg that time with Jordan Pickford. He's had other injuries since then, and he's taken a lot of time to build himself back up. Those kind of things are important for other people in the team, so you can do that. You can build yourself back up for anyone who's got an injury, but also that he's returned to what, I saw it the other day on the Anfield Wrap. They were saying he makes Premier League defending look easy. Now, obviously, he's been building himself back up. I don't think he's had to particularly challenge himself in these early games, as we've all been speaking about. We've not faced anyone inside the top 10, apart from AC Milan at this point, and that's not even in the English league. And frankly, they looked a few levels below Liverpool in the first place anyway, so, they're good, but they're not the test that I think Virgil van Dijk and the rest of the players probably want to consider to be the high bar of, the reality. In the next couple of weeks, we are going to find out where this team is at. We're probably going to find out where Trent's at as well. I don't think there's a chance that the fan base, should we say, I don't want to say change their opinion on Trent. I think it's very different to the Gerrard thing. I also think Gerrard felt so intrinsically needed at Liverpool at that time. We possibly underestimate Trent a little bit. As an all-time fullback assister, as an all-time winner at the club, I think he does have a big influence. I don't know how to say this politically. I think there are a lot of people who love Trent, but understand that there are flaws that feel a little bit unspeakable while he's in the shirt because they want to be supportive of him and they want to see him move forward and grow as a player. He's incredible going forward, and I think he's also very good going back, but I just think that's not the biggest strength in his game, so it gets overlooked sometimes. It's very hard to paint the picture of Trent in any fullness because you want to be supportive, you want to show, this guy is an all-time great, which I think he is for Liverpool. But for me, Liverpool are going to have to sustain a blow, I think, probably in January, but also next summer. And we're going to need to deal with that in the best possible manner. If he resigns, fantastic. We've not lost anything. I'm not losing sleep over it. But also, because of the industry we work in, because of where we're at, I also don't want to have to read a load of people speaking about status or all these kind of, I just think it's ridiculous. Let me know what you guys think of the Trent situation below. There was a lot of talk in the last few times I've visited Anfield, in the last few times I've been in Liverpool circles with other fans, that they feel he's going to leave, that there have been rumblings, rumours, those kind of things. I'd love to know what you guys think. I think Trent is someone who really loves Liverpool, but I also think he's someone who understands and is probably thinks outside of just the very obvious idea of, oh, I love this club, therefore I'm going to play for them forever. But I do wonder if Trent stayed, I think if he commits in this contract, I think he's a lifer then at Liverpool. I want him to be a Steph Curry type. I want him to be a Gerrard type, in that they stayed and were loyal. And I think, if anything, he has more motivation to stay than Gerrard, because there is a very overt chance that he could win something while he's at Liverpool. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And there will be plenty more comments and ideas in the coming days on my Patreon, but also on the members part of this channel. I will see you guys there. Much love. Bye.